Before I introduce the guests, I wanted to say that I got a letter on November the 3rd of 1978, and it says, "Dear Mr. Trotter, does anybody out there know that there are alternatives to doctors, hospitals, nursing homes, and rising medical costs? How many of your viewers are aware that chiropractic's foremost function is preventive health care, not treating necessarily whiplash and an aching back?" Well, got the letter from the Association of Chiropractic Education, and we are here this evening. Our first guest is Dr. Terry Ronberg, the author of that letter. He's president of the Association for Chiropractic Education and is a doctor of chiropractic. Next to him is a medical doctor, Dr. Jerome Williams. He's director of the Williams Clinic in St. Louis. And next to me is Dr. You know, it's funny, Reginald, usually all the guests are on one side. I'm wondering who's next to me now. Is Dr. Reginald Gold. He's a doctor of chiropractic and president of the Institute of Straight Chiropractic in Pennsylvania. I think that's Adio, okay. And last but never least is Dr. John Grant. He's a St. Louis physician. 367-7211. We have a new little format here that I am eventually going to get comfortable with. Let me say that I think it's very important when we had a show and we thought about this, when Terry said, well, what about us? A great idea, I thought. Still a great idea. The show was almost going to be canceled because we didn't have an opposing viewpoint. Not necessarily opposing viewpoint for the sake of being mean or evil or pro or con, but for a moral and legal sake. I think when you talk about health, it's the most important thing there is in life. You can be black or white, poor or rich. You can be a Republican, you can be a Jew or a Gentile. When it comes to good health, when it comes to health, it's very important. It's essential. Therefore, in an effort for health for you, good health for you, for questions such as chiropractic, you always have to have another opinion. And that's the medical opinion. The medical world, the world of medicine, the world of surgery. Therefore, on this evening's show, I think you will find that not only the show will be enlightening, informative, which it's supposed to be, but most importantly, you will get several contrasting opinions, and it's left up to you to decide which one you want to believe in. 367-7211. Terry, I think I would like to ask you, what is chiropractic?
Well, to answer that, I think it's essential to have an understanding of what chiropractic is not. Chiropractic is not a diagnosis or a treatment for any disease or any symptom in any way at any time. And I think that the vast majority of people do not understand what chiropractic is or what it's for. Chiropractic is for the restoration and maintenance of health.
Okay, I have a brochure, and it is from your organization. It says people come here for 4 main reasons: disease, prevention, improving themselves, and improving the world. Can the medical world offer the same thing, in your opinion, Dr. Jerome Williams?
Oh, very definitely so. I am still not quite clear as to what the practice of chiropractic actually is, and I think this will be a learning situation for everybody. Now, I would like to differentiate chiropractic from chiropody. The public probably gets those confused. The practice of chiropody, or podiatrist, actually is dealing with the feet or the foot itself. This goes back to 1840, and I think the chiropractics first started in 1895. I think they had David Palmer, who founded the organization in Davenport, Iowa. And he established the Palmer Institute, or Palmer College of Chiropractic in 1898, and his son carried on the work. But I would like to hear more what the gentlemen have to say about exactly what they do, so then I can more intelligently comment on it.
Okay. Dr. Gold, you may continue with that by this specimen you brought in.
Okay, if I may
viewing
borrow a
audience.
little Willie here. This is a fiberglass model of the human spine seen here from behind. The hip bones or pelvis, the sacrum, tailbone at the bottom, then the 24 movable segments or vertebrae that form the spine, and on top of that, the skull. This, of course, is the province of the chiropractor. Chiropractic is based upon the intent of keeping these bones in their proper relationships to each other, simply because virtually every vital nerve trunk in the body passes through these openings. As we turn the spine sideways, we see openings between the bones, and inside the bones of the spine runs the spinal cord. Now, as long as these bones are in their proper relationships to each other, then all of the nerve trunks giving rise to all of the distribution of nerves throughout the body is in a normal, healthy condition. The nerve trunks are in a normal, healthy condition. If, however, one of these bones becomes misaligned from its fellows above and below, that's what the chiropractor calls a vertebral subluxation, a tiny twisting of the bone, which narrows the opening, damaging the nerves, and resulting in some malfunction or malfunctions at the organs at the end of the nerves. Now, the chiropractor's job is, as Dr. Ronberg pointed out earlier, is never to diagnose or treat disease. We're not in the disease-treating field. We merely point out that if the human body is to have any chance at all of functioning normally, then every nerve to every organ must be in normal condition.
So what, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So what we're doing then is examining the spine to find these subluxations, and we examine the spine with x-rays, with instruments, with our hands, and if we find a subluxation, then we set about a program really of spinal rehabilitation, gradually, gently easing these bones back into their proper relationships, getting the openings back to normal size, and allowing the nerves to function normally. And that's all.
Okay, in your, I could say, treatment of this, if someone has, let's say, a bad back, do you check that out before you go to twisting the nerve?
No, absolutely not.
Is that dangerous?
No, we will examine the spine to see, first of all, if there is or is not a vertebral subluxation. We really don't care what it's causing. We're quite satisfied that any time a nerve is damaged, then the entire body must suffer as a result.
You don't care what it's causing?
No, exactly. If there is a vertebral subluxation, whether we can find what it's causing, whether we know what it's causing or not, in and of itself, this vertebral subluxation limits the body's ability to function properly. It shouldn't be there. So the next part of our examination is concerned with seeing whether it is safe for the chiropractor then to adjust the vertebra back into place.
And how does
All right, if there is a subluxation and it is safe to adjust it back into place, we do that, regardless of whether the patient has a backache, a cold, asthma, bronchitis, menstrual cramps. Doesn't matter what disease the patient does or doesn't have. What we're doing is not being done to cure disease. It's being done simply because every human being, with or without disease, is better off if they have a good nerve supply to all of the body.
You mean the twist of this could help a cold?
No, on the contrary, the twisting of that damages the body. Now, in this human body of ours, every single part is dependent upon every other part. You can't have a malfunctioning liver and the rest of the body healthy, or a malfunctioning kidney and the rest of the body healthy. If any part of the body has a damaged nerve supply, then the entire body suffers and resistance is lowered. A cold doesn't come from a single cause. You brought up cold. The same virus which will cause a cold in a person 1 week will not cause a cold in that same person a week earlier or a week later. We're dealing with two factors. One, the environmental factor, the other, the resistance of the body. Now, chiropractors deal with the resistance of the body in that we try and maintain good nerve supply to all of the organs so they can function properly. It is an inevitable fact that if one organ is damaged, because its nerve supply is damaged by these spinal subluxations, then the entire body malfunctions. Could eventually lead to some disease, could not lead to disease. Mostly, if it were involved in disease at all, it would be as a contributory factor. Diseases don't come from a single cause.
Okay, doctor, I come to you, let's use me for an example, and I tell you that I have a terrible sinus infection, upper respiratory infection, and I'm not going to a medical doctor, I'm coming to you.
Beautiful. This is what usually happens. You come to me and say, Reggie, can you help my sinus problem? My answer is no, I don't treat sinus problems. What can you do for my sinus? Nothing. I don't treat sinus problems.
What can you do for my cold,
Not a
Reggie?
thing. Not a thing. Here's what chiropractic is. And I explained to you that my job is to examine your spine to see if you have a good nerve supply to all of the organs, including the sinuses and every other part. If you don't, if your nerve supply is damaged by this misalignment of the spine, my job is to restore nerve supply. Now, will that help my sinuses?
Yes.
I really
Will it?
don't know, and I don't care.
Okay.
One thing I do know, you shouldn't be walking around with your nerve supply damaged. Whether it affects your sinuses or not, you don't need damaged nerves. My job is to correct nerve supply in all people under all circumstances, whether it affects your sinuses or not. You're better off with a good nerve supply. That's the position of chiropractic, and that's what the practice is.
It seems like a simplistic one, but a one that's been
Absolutely.
questioned.
Yeah, it's simplistic in the same way that good nutrition is simplistic. I wouldn't offer good nutrition to cure your cancer, but I say this, if you have cancer, if you have cancer, you're certainly better off eating properly rather than eating poorly. But if you don't have cancer, you're also better off eating properly than eating poorly. The same is true with chiropractic. Regardless of what disease you have or don't have, you're better off if your nerves are not damaged by vertebral subluxation.
Dr. Grant, if I come into your office, I don't know, I'm calling you Reggie, I'm calling him Terry.
Oh, that's okay. My name is Reggie.
Okay.
Dr. Gold is my wife.
Okay, fine. Jack, if you please.
right.
Okay. I came into your office, or if I come into your office, I have a cold, I have a sinus problem, upper respiratory, what would you do?
Well, I would talk with you for a few minutes to get the symptoms. Then I would look at your head or your eyes or your ears or whatever seemed to be appropriate. If I thought that you might have if I wasn't sure, but I thought you might have a sinus infection, I might get a sinus x-ray. Or if I thought you had a strep throat, I would get a throat culture, and maybe a white count. And then I would treat what seemed appropriate.
Okay, Dr. Williams, from another medical standpoint, would you be checking my spine? Would you be checking my nerves for my cold, for my sinus, my upper respiratory condition?
No, I would not. I think that scientific fact bear out that there is no real scientific basis for the practice of chiropractic as such. I agree with the theory that any damaged nerve to a part of the body can cause a disease of that part, and some of the medical physicians' treatments are based on that particular premise also. I would like to ask Dr. Romberg if there are ever any spines examined that are found to be perfectly normal.
I have examined several thousand spines since I've been in practice. I have seen some spines without vertebral subluxations. However, I'd like to point out that I think vertebral subluxations, because doctors of chiropractic are the only ones concerned with locating and analyzing and adjusting to correct subluxations, there are definitely in epidemic proportions today in our society, absolutely. And many, many people I examine who are under, let's say, regular medical care, who've never had their spinal columns examined for subluxations, certainly should, because it's being overlooked by the practice of medicine.
What are the type of ailments, may I ask you, could you take care of? Could you solve?
Okay, you know, after I got through telling you that I would under no circumstances treat sinuses by adjusting the spine, you then turned to Dr. Williams and said, would you treat sinuses by adjusting the spine? Let me say again that under no circumstances does any chiropractor treat sinuses or any other condition by adjusting the spine. Our purpose in adjusting, our purpose in adjusting the spine is to restore and maintain the integrity of the nerve system. Whether you have a sinus problem or not is absolutely immaterial.
Okay, tell us something that is material. We're using that. Nothing.
Chiropractors do not treat diseases or conditions.
Oh, but
now,
I've got...
if you're looking to find how we treat diseases,
okay, I want to know how.
We don't.
Oh, you don't, but it says people come here for 4 main reasons. Forgive my reading. Disease, prevention, improving themselves, improving the world. So much for 3 and 4. 1, diseases. If I